And we are live. Welcome everyone to the Doctor of Stuff channel. I'm your host, Doctor of Stuff. I am not a real doctor, and this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. But I just wanted to give everyone a preview of, not a preview, but have a discussion about day one of NFT NYC. I went to a lot of different presentations and really interesting stuff. And I wanted to, I did look at it through the lens of how does this apply to VeVe, or where does VeVe sit in or fit into a lot of these conversations. And so I'm just going to dive right in. The first, one of the first presentations was Brittany O'Hagan. She was from Dapper Labs. We had another gentleman from NFL All Day. And one of the things that they really talked about was leaning into the term digital collectible as opposed to NFT, because NFT has this negative connotation with it, right? Mass media did a great job of saying, implying that these NFTs were destroying the ecosystem, damaging the earth with all of the energy use. And that's what most people think of NFTs. However, digital collectibles is a lot more friendly. People understand the term. And I was just thinking about that. And I'm like, so here we are, 2023, NFT NYC, Dapper Labs, NFL, representative from the NFL with NFL All Day, talking about digital collectibles. And, VeVe started calling them digital collectibles like over a year ago. So in that aspect, it's interesting. I feel like they're ahead of the game on some of these things. And I will talk about overall where I think VeVe is. But look, I'm just looking at this. I do consider VeVe. I still look at least part of this as an investment. I'm going to talk about that as well. But so I want to analyze. I want to take in all of the information, good and bad, assess that, and then move forward. Do I continue with this? Do I not continue with this? But these type of things where I sit back and I look and I say, okay, so here's the overall space saying, hey, digital collectibles. And then I look at VeVe and they've been calling it that for a year. That says something, at least to me, that says that there are things that they are looking forward in this space. And I'm going to talk about one of the things that they've really looked forward in this space, which I think is going to have a massive impact on the overall NFT space and some of VeVe's competitors. Let's see. So, the next speaker was Robbie Ferguson. If you don't know who Robbie Ferguson is, he's one of the heads of Immutable X. And he talked a lot about gaming is a major focus. He thinks that gaming is going to bring a lot of people into Web3, which I agree with. And he gives some statistics. He said less than 5% of the games being built in Web3 today are currently playable. And most, they're not really that good of games. But he said that 30 to 40% of the games that are being built should go live in the next 12 months. One of them for me that I'm really excited about is Cornucopias. They're doing a racing game. That's one of the first games that they are going to be bringing out, and that comes out in like a month or so is when I think they're beta testing some of that. So Robbie said that the majority of these games will not be successful. But then he talked about how some of these Web 2 games are really interested in getting fully committed into Web3. He talked about EVE Online and how they are looking to bring on everything. And EVE Online is massive. It's been around for so long. And there are some really, really dedicated players to EVE Online. And so if EVE Online goes Web3, those people who are true loyalists to EVE Online are also going to follow them there, right? And that's going to bring in some more people. Another thing that was kind of talked about, they say in real estate, location. Now that's really important. Well, the reason location is so important is because you want to be where the people are. And then he kind of talked about how in these metaverses, you go there and there's just not a lot of people there. There's no one's there. So you go there for a couple minutes and then you're just like, like I'm out, and you bounce, right? And he said, but if you build a game and you have an awesome game and people are there playing it, you can build that metaverse around it, right? And that makes me just think of the VeVe verse. Now, I'm not thinking. I don't want to imply that I think that the VeVe verse is going to be anything crazy to begin with. But what I think it's going to do is it's going to bring a social aspect to it. People going to go in, they're going to see their showrooms. So there will already be people there. So instead of a game initially, there's already a reason for people to be there, to see the collectibles, to show off your showroom. And there's already a strong community of VeVe, the VeVe fan, right? And so there's already something there. And then I do believe that there will be, and Reese has talked about this in previous AMAs, of little mini games and things that are going to be there. Let's shout out to SoCal Omi Homie. You rock. You guys are awesome. I think that's one of my favorite things, that the what's up Doc, because when I tell people like, hey, just call me Doc, and they're like, yeah, what's up, Doc? And then they think about it, and just seeing that reaction, it just like makes my day every time. And let's see, Chico Marega. I will talk about I'll address this in a little bit here. So okay, going into again, Robbie Ferguson talking about gaming and VeVe and the VeVe verse. I think it's going to already have just like a good jump start to it. That doesn't mean that it's going to go crazy. Or like, there's always an aspect of me that has to think like things could go wrong. But when I'm comparing what VeVe is building and what they've done, compared to a lot of their competitors or like anyone else building, Decentraland has so much money and they've done so many things there, and there's still almost no one there, guys. Right? I'm very excited for the VeVe verse there. So here's another tidbit. After Robbie talked, he came out and I followed him out with some other people, and I waited in line and I got to talk to him. And so this is, I don't know if anyone saw my little conversation with Block, whom I love dearly. I think he's a very intelligent individual, and I think that like he just tries to say it like in his mind how it is, and I appreciate that, and I like a lot of things he says. But when I told him, and he might have misread my tweet, because I said I'm going to talk about how the things that I heard about, how that impacts or applies to VeVe. And I don't know if he maybe thought that I said like, and it was all about VeVe, or that tons of people were talking about VeVe. But he said that I was a liar, that no one cares about VeVe. So here's number one block for you on my proof. I talked to Robbie, shook his hand. And by the way, he is extremely approachable and kind and awesome. He had a lot of people kind of watching every move I made, getting, I guess, too close to him, even though I got to shake his hand. But I was like, hey, I got a real big question for you, man. With Immutable X, like I'm a big VeVe fan. And you know what he said? He said, oh, we love VeVe. VeVe is awesome, right? And I'm like, that's good to hear. And I said, my question is, what do you think, or are you aware of any potential concerns that big IP could have? Because obviously VeVe has this kind of walled garden. Yes, they're on Immutable X, but can't go over to the Immutable X marketplace. I said, are there things that might be stopping them from making that jump over there? And the first thing he said was, well, there's two things. One is the economies, right? Basically the money, the royalties, all of that. He says, I think that most IP, I think that we have resolved that concern for the most part with Immutable X, and those royalties being embedded into the protocol, right? So they don't have to worry about smart contracts or their marketplace not honoring those smart contracts because they don't choose to. It's embedded in the protocol there. But then the other thing he said is, I think that there is still some concern if you're listing one IP, what that IP is listed next to, right? So if there's this marketplace and there's all these different IPs that you can buy, and he didn't make any inferences as to what that was, but for example, right, if you have like a Minnie Mouse next to some whatever, salacious or seductive or whatever type NFT Are they concerned about that? Right. That's just my example there. That's not something that he said. But he said that that's one of the things is what is their IP next to? And so that was interesting to hear. I hadn't thought about that before. But then the last thing he said, which I thought was interesting, he said, I think in the long run, like they're coming over. It's going to take some time, but they're going to, he truly believes that they are coming over into this space. And that makes me bullish, right? Because here, he's not just talking to VeVe, he's talking to a lot of other IP. And I don't even know like what all the major IP is there, but his belief on top of what we've heard from VeVe in the past is that they believe that long-term also that a lot of their major IP will make the jump over, but it's going to take some time. So like that makes me excited. And when I'm looking at, okay, where VeVe is, and is this a short-term investment for me or a long-term investment? I've always said that for me, it's a longer term investment in some of the collectibles. Now, I'm going to get into when I say investment. Again, this is not financial advice, it's not investment advice. This is just what I'm doing. And someone on Twitter was like, "Well, that's the problem, Doc. Is that you just like everyone else is an investor, and what that is basically is everyone's just investors. Then it's just a Ponzi scheme." I'm not just an investor. There are certain things on VeVe that I'm buying because I do think that long term, they're going to be meaningful in the space. Just like people who bought comics and kept them in great condition when they were first coming out, and they bought multiples of them. Obviously they were collectors, but they also felt like, hey, long term, this might have value, and I'm going to hold on to some of these because of that. But like I still use my AR with my collectibles, like especially with my kids. They love that. We're taking pictures and stuff. It's fun. I see that in my feed all the time. So it's not a Ponzi scheme, but what I want to bring up with NFT NYC, there was this artist who was talking, and it was kind of funny because he was criticizing NFT NYC, saying it was a cash grab, which, by the way, for what they charge, I don't think he's wrong. Yeah, for what was there, some of the speakers, I was like, how did you get approved to speak? There were some other really great speakers, but yeah, some of them I was like, I feel like anyone with a pulse who signed up somehow got approved. And that's not a good look, especially for what they were charging. But this artist, he was like, in the art world, it's all about the money. He said, I'll go to these conventions and all the discussions are around how much money someone sold their art for, what venue they're selling their art at, and how much money they're going to pull from that. And I guess I'm like, well, like aren't people collecting art for art? Like, isn't that the one thing? And yet it's everywhere you go. You're going to get collectors who collect stuff because they like it, but then also they hope that it goes up in value. And some of them aren't, right? Like some of these digital collectibles, they're just that. They're collectibles. And there's some comics, there's some art that you collect, and it's gonna be worth nothing except for that sentimental value. But then there are other things that might hold value in the future. So no, I don't think VeVe is a Ponzi scheme. And I don't think there's been some criticism of I think that we have been spoiled. And I kind of talked about this on the podcast around the Comeyverse with crypto comics and crypto and Jordan Riz. That look, for like a year and a half, VeVe was selling out every single drop, and we boasted about that, right? We said, "Oh, like this is so amazing." Like they're selling out every drop. Ha ha ha. Look at all these other like ones. And now they're not. And everyone's like, oh, VeVe's going down to zero. Look, their user base is declining. They're not selling out. They're only a third minted out on certain things. Look at this Cookie Monster drop. It didn't sell out. I mean, I can talk about the prices. Like, I don't necessarily agree. And if VeVe is intentionally trying to sell out every single drop, which I would imagine that they're trying to do, they could work on pricing, honestly. But I'm not concerned about that. I look at like other marketplaces, and those marketplaces don't sell out of all of their inventory every time. They don't, and they're still doing fine. So I when I see people that all they're saying is VeVe is going to zero because of this, especially in the bear market where a lot of these NFT projects, the value on them are going down. interaction with the community and the user base is going down. Look, I'm going to take out Bored Ape Yacht Club. Like, they are like a unicorn. They're amazing. They have not made a misstep. That's great for them, right? But that doesn't take away from the majority of these projects are down significantly. Moonbirds are down significantly. Goblin Town significantly. Doodles. I mean, all of these NFT Web3 projects, a lot of them are down, right? And so just something, as I'm looking at things holistically, those are my thoughts so far. So Zephaser says longer term. Yeah, longer term. Look, I mean, if there's a point where some of these collectibles that I hold multiples of go up significantly in value, like I'm gonna sell some of them. I'm gonna hold on to some of them forever. I think, like, honestly, I mean, they really are very sentimental to me. But when I think of like longer term, like, yep, some things if the price point hits, I will sell. And Omi as well. So let's see. He said, I hope they're just waiting for the perfect storm when this bull run starts and will release every utility and get on every exchange there is. I don't know if they'll get on every exchange there is with the regulatory environment, with the SEC going hog wild on all these crypto projects and stuff. There's a lot of concern there. In fact, I'm aware of a project that was going to be listing, and now they're having to restructure everything to get out of the US to be able to list on certain exchanges, because these exchanges are like, you're US based. We're not going to list you. Even if you're not selling to US people. That's kind of where we're at right now. So I don't know if they'll get on every exchange. I'm not counting on that in my assessment. But I do think that they will get on some bigger major exchanges. So that's where I'm at. And yeah, like, I would love for them to make the perfect storm. I do believe that utility is coming. We finally got a search bar that you can search mints for. Like, that's exciting. That's one less thing that's one of the things that people are always talking about. It's been 3 years and they don't have a search bar. And I'm like, I got nothing. I can't defend that. Like, I'm not going to defend that, but we have it now. And that's pretty cool. And I have started looking for certain mints with things that I'm matching, and that makes it so much easier. Now, if they could just make it possible for me to make an offer on the mint of a collectible that's not being listed for sale, I would love that. Okay, so before I go more into NFT NYC, so do I know what happened when we burn the reserve wallet? Are we going to switch to circulating supply? So there's a lot of confusion about this, unfortunately. So I think it was either when Crypto Rain and I were interviewing Reese, or when Reese popped on around the Comiiverse on my channel. So here's the clarification. What's in the reserve wallet right now, it means nothing. It's basically meaningless because they switched. So the original tokenomics were that you had this reserve wallet, and then as transactions happened, right, there was that burn, that 2.5% burn, and they would send that to the burn wallet. Then the intention was to then purchase more OMI from circulating supply to put in that reserve wallet as it got depleted. And that was how they were going to take it out of circulating supply and make the token deflationary. With the SEC coming out and the concerns around the token being labeled as security because of that action of purchasing it to burn it, that's when they redid the tokenomics. So now the things like OMI to NFT, like, there are mechanisms there that people are going to use their own OMI from circulating supply that they're going to get from the actual circulating supply out there from exchanges, that they will then use, and a portion of that OMI will be burnt. Now, we're waiting on this, I guess, synergistic tokenomics that are going to be coming out that talks about MCP and OMI. So they're changing it a little bit even more. So to address that, the OMI in the reserve wallet, it's zero. Like, it's whether they burn it or whatever, it's not going ever into circulation, and we shouldn't worry about that anymore. So hopefully that makes sense there. Okay. So here's another one of the big. There's a lot of legal and finance discussions surrounding NFTs. And one of the biggest, there's multiple presentations on compliance and anti-money laundering. And basically, I'm going to read you this phrase that they said, this attorney said, and it's a big deal. Let's see. So just because you aren't complying with the rules does not mean the rules don't exist. That's the thing. So VeVe, as they're onboarding people, they're doing that KYC, and it took them a long time to do the cash out, and then it got taken back, and then we had wire issues. VeVe is trying to do it right, and I'm telling you right now that it's going to happen for all of the projects. It's going to, and the ones that have been doing it wrong, whether intentional or not, they are eventually going to get dinged. And depending on the amount of cash they have and the runway they have, that could take some under at that point. And that's something to take into consideration when you're looking at any NFT project. Like, it's important to understand, like, do they have a compliance team or someone they can talk to? Because there is so much around all of that. And if they are interacting, if any NFT project is interacting with any US resident whatsoever, those laws start to apply. And so just something to take into consideration when you're looking again at projects. And I look at VeVe, and in my assessment, I'm saying, okay, this team is truly trying to build out this regulatory compliance. And it's not just the US. US is pretty strict on a lot of those things, but it's worldwide. And so many of these NFT projects have not thought that through. So just something to keep in mind as you continue to interact in the NFT space. So here's something. So there was this presenter, and he said there's these 10 NFT due diligence questions, and I like him. So I'm going to go through what problem does this project solve? So I think VeVe solves a problem of digital ownership with major IP. What tangible value is imparted upon holders? So the tangible value is you get these collectibles. You can play with them in AR. There's going to be a VeVeverse. So this is something that really hasn't been done before, of that ownership with this IP. And being able to mix all of this IP together in a VeVeverse. What successful projects have the founders previously launched? We know that David has successful companies before. Dan has had a successful company before. Alcon has been extremely successful in this space. So checks that box. Do you have doxed information on the entire founding team? Yes, we do. Some of these NFT projects don't. And you have to ask yourself why. Why aren't some people being doxed? I understand when I've invested in certain projects through some venture capital groups, if they're creating like a privacy token or privacy wallet, governments don't like that, right? So there can be a reason why they're not doxed. But guess what? I invested in a project that did it was great. They were creating a privacy wallet on Solana, and crap hit the fan. And they rugged. They actually minted more tokens and then sold them and then bounced. That's one of the risks that I took there, right? Even I was like, look, they're not going to be doxed. It makes sense in this area, and there are risks there. So VeVe has a fully doxed team. I think that's extremely important. Okay, how has the community been built so far, and how many people are involved? VeVe has one of the strongest communities in there. There's definitely some infighting during this bear market, but they're there. And a lot of us, and here's the thing, guys, I know that everyone sees a lot of FUD in there, and some of it's warranted. I wouldn't call that the warranted stuff FUD. I would at like it's criticism, and it's warranted criticism that hopefully VeVe can fix and improve upon. And then there's other things where people take something that was said, they infer information, add additional information, and then create a problem that was never even a problem until they added their additional opinion or understanding of that comment on it. But we're the silent majority. The majority of people are still just they're quiet. They're not getting up in spaces. They're not responding to the tweets, the negativity, and they're just continuing to purchase or kind of hunkering down. But there are people like me who, like, I don't mind pushing back. Like, again, though, like, I'm only pushing back on the stuff that I feel like isn't warranted or supported. I think that's important to do. And anytime you go into anything, keep your eyes wide open, guys. Like, we can't have this mentality of like, I'm not going to pay attention to any of the negativity. If that negativity, if there's vital information that maybe points out something about a project that's not favorable to that project, like, hopefully we're taking that into consideration and saying, does that change my thoughts on, do I put more money in? Do I stop? Do I pull it out? Right. So that's something that everyone should be doing there. But there's a lot of negativity. Like, okay, I'm going to give you an example. Someone in Spaces was sitting there saying how Omi is vaporware. And it's really funny because there were people during the last bear market, like, that were saying that Cardano was vaporware, that it was going nowhere. The token was going nowhere. It had started at 70 cents and it would drop all the way down to like 1.3 cents. And everyone said it was going to zero, and literally said that it was vaporware. And the person was like, I can't believe that Omi has this market cap of $200 million. What a joke. And I'm like, look, it's tied, that token is tied to massive IP that almost no other project in the entire Web3 space has. There's going to be a VeVe-verse. There's going to be additional utility that hasn't come out yet. And there's a risk. Look, you have to assume, like, is there a chance that this doesn't come out? There is. For me, I believe it is. And that's the way I'm going and I'm rolling with this. But to call it vaporware is such a joke. And those are the types of people that you just need to be like, all right, your credibility is lost. What are you saying to back that up? You're right. Like, the token doesn't have utility yet, but 95% of the tokens in the crypto space have no utility and they're hype. Dogecoin is like top 10 market cap and it's worthless. It's because Elon Musk talks about it. Are you kidding me? So like, that's what kills me. And just pay attention. Oh yeah. Abe. So Abe knows. Yep. Soul Bank, that hurt. That hurt when I invested in Soul Bank, and they rugged pretty hard though. So yeah, like, oh, there we go. So Cal is just confirming what I said, that they would ditch the whole reserve at one point. Abe, I love you, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while. Te quiero mucho, huh? And let's see. I'm just looking at some of these spaces. Shout out to you, Dave. You're the man. The team needs to speak on this. Sorry, I don't know what they needed to speak on. Are you talking about the tokenomics? Reese has talked about it. Like, he's talked about it. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the team has talked about that. The insane NFT NYC parties. Can I tell you something, man? So last year, it was wild, right? You had Ape Fest. Look, I won a ping pong tournament of one of the NFT projects I was in. I reached out to almost all of the NFT projects I'm in, and like, they were like, nah, we're not going this year. And you feel it. The energy is definitely not nearly as high as it was last year. And it's to be expected. So here's another thing, speaking about this and projects who aren't going or aren't there. There was this excellent tweet thread that I read. I swear I retweeted it, but it talked about how a lot of projects that minted a year to 18 months ago are basically running out of cash, right? So when they mint, if they sell out their mint and it's normally like 0.08 ETH or something, that gives them about 12 to 18 months worth of runway. And at the end of that runway, if they haven't minted more, which potentially could dilute, right, whatever project they're doing, if they haven't tied that in right to the ecosystem, they're running out of funds. And that's something to think about as you're looking at projects, is the amount of money that they're generating. So when people sit there and say VeVe is dead, and yet they're selling out hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of NFTs or digital collectibles in a week, I'm like, again, like, that's when I feel like someone's being emotional, and maybe they're upset, and maybe there are reasons and justifications why they're upset. I'm not taking that away from anyone. But again, I got to take the emotion out of it and say, what makes sense here. And saying that VeVe is dead and it's going to zero is, I mean, if that's the case, then like almost every project except for Bored Ape is gonna go to zero. Like I don't know what to say. Like VeVe is making more money than the majority of projects out there in this space, you know. So let's see. Here's the other thing. I said that I had a couple things with Block that made me laugh, right? When he called me a liar and he said no one cared about VeVe and they're just building Web3 in this walled garden and stuff. So I think I have my little sticker. Okay. So I was walking around kind of the like swag, you know, marketing area, and this girl comes up to me, and hold on, I gotta find her name here real quick. Oh. Yeah, okay. So where'd it go? Well, Jenny from the blockchain. I don't know if you've heard of her. But Jenny from the blockchain, she's got like 20. Okay, Steph Seto, that's her name. Steph Seto.eth at NFT NYC. She came up to me and she was like, "Hey, do you mind if we do this interview?" And I'm like, "Sure." And she's like, asked me like why I like NFT or what I was here for with NFT NYC. And I said, actually, like I'm really here more for like the regulatory and legal perspective, really understanding that crypto taxes. That's what I kind of geek out on top of all of the stuff that they're building, the gaming. So I told her that. So we're doing this interview, and it's going to probably pop up on her Twitter feed here. So that would be my proof for your Block as well. But so she basically was like, "So what NFT projects are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, like, well, have you ever heard of VeVe?" And she was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I love VeVe. We love VeVe. In fact, we are trying to emulate what VeVe is doing." So the project that she's talking about is Cryptoys here, and they have signed a deal with Mattel. And so one of the things on this like live interview she did is like we talked about, if I had grown up watching Masters of the Universe, right, with He-Man. And I was like, yeah, like I love that show growing up. And basically they have these kind of like wrapped toys, digital toys, and it literally is like a He-Man toy in a little thing. And they have this awesome graphic of like opening the box. That VeVe, I'm telling you, that green truck just isn't doing it. When I compare that to this box and opening, it is pretty epic. Like, I love that there's this Castle Grayskull in the background, and it's like spinning. It's like this Rubik's Cube type thing. And then it pops open, and I won a He-Man NFT. And so I was talking to her about it, and they're like, well, we're trying to build a marketplace. We're trying to do all these things. But she absolutely knew about VeVe and said that they were trying to follow the VeVe roadmap with a lot of what they were doing. So, yeah, there were definitely people, Block, who knew about VeVe and are talking about VeVe and are actually impressed with what VeVe is doing. Let's see. We got Doc VeVe is lucky to have you on their side, bro. Yeah. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Like, I'm on their side. Like, I like their project, and I've interacted with a lot of the team, and like personally, and so yeah, like I love talking about them. I'm very passionate about a lot of the IP that they have there. So with any of the launch pads that I like, so there's a couple launch pads that have been actually kicking butt lately. Engine Starter is coming back. Their token was down significantly. That token made me a lot of money. And Spores is actually, they have a lot of contacts in the APAC region, and they're launching some pretty phenomenal things there. And so their token has been climbing up pretty significantly. I think I bought some Spores in like December or January, and it's like 5 or 6x from there because of some of the projects that they're launching there, and people are excited about it. And so for those of you guys who don't know what a launchpad is, basically they require that you hold a certain amount of their token, that you stake it to be able to get different levels of access, the amount of dollars that you can purchase of a token or a project that they're launching there. So there you go. That's a fact. I appreciate you, Dave. Let's see. Have I seen OUP? Have I seen the Notion site? They do need to update it, but the thing is they haven't they haven't actually released the article talking about that synergy. So until they do, they're not going to update the Notion site. But they definitely need to. And once they do, I actually want to talk to Reese and be like, hey man, once you release that, can I have you on the channel so that we can talk about what this means, why you guys change things? So I'm going to see if I can't be the guy to have him talk about that. Jeff Pierce, everyone loves a box opening. It's true. It's so fun. And that's what I said in the interview. I said, like, that just added so much to the experience, honestly. And one of the other things too about Cryptoys, and I'm not like pumping them, they were just talking about it, is like, so you had the character and he was in the box, but you could actually like take him out of the packaging. You could like do this irreversible, removing him from the package, and then you'd be able to play with the He-Man or the Battle Cat like toy. But I was like, no, like I want to keep it in the package. So she's gonna be sending me a package there. But so Steph Soto, she's got about 20,000 followers, and then again, I think it's her cousin or something. That's Jenny from the blockchain, Jennifer Sudo. She's a big Doodles, got a Doodles PFP. She's got 36,000 followers. And again, both of them very much knew what VeVe was. And so there you go, Block. There's a proof, buddy. I heart you. But like I said, anytime you go against me, you're 99.9% of the time you're going to be wrong. Slava, rough waters help people understand if investing is for them or not. It is not for everyone, and that's okay. Nice to have your balanced thoughts, Doc. Yeah. Hey, look, there's some times like I try to be as balanced as possible and take the good and the bad and make that assessment and just inform people. I think that that's so important. I don't think it's healthy to listen to the fudders who all they do is FUD. I don't think it's healthy to listen to the moon boys that all they talk about the entire time is the good things and they ignore the bad things. Like that's not good, right? People should be able to go into any project with their eyes wide open and understand what they're getting themselves into. And it's not for some people. I got into crypto. The first time I got into crypto, I bought ETH. And at the time, ETH was like $1,200, right? It was like all-time high at the time. And $1,200, and I just bought it because I was like, I need to learn more about this crypto thing. So just threw a couple $100 in, and literally a week later, ETH dropped to like $600, and I was like, whoa, that volatility is crazy. And so my $200 now was like $100, and then like a month later, it had dropped like another like half. So it was at $300. So my $200 was like $50. And like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of ETH. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to jump over to, everyone keeps talking about how awesome XRP is. So then I jumped over to XRP, and XRP got slapped with the SEC lawsuit. And not only did the value go down, but then it got locked in Coinbase for me. So that's been fun. But look, crypto is risky, and I think that people need to understand that. Like, these projects are risky, and most of them will fail. I hope people understand that. And so that's why I love those questions. I went over those questions that guy talked about, is because it is important to ask yourself those questions, especially for someone who's new in the space. Try to listen to people who give you a balanced perspective. And that's what I try to do. And there's other people like Crypto Rain. Like, I worked with him for about a year, like, and I've known him for a long time, but like, I feel like he truly does try to provide a balanced perspective, and he's been successful. Here's the other thing. Listen to people who've been successful in this space as opposed to people who haven't been successful in this space, right? That doesn't mean that people who haven't been successful aren't intelligent and they don't make good points. But for me, I want to say, okay, who has been successful and why? What are they doing? How can I emulate that or mimic some of that and learn from that? And so I see a lot of these people who are sitting there saying like, hey, they're giving this advice, and I'm like, okay, like, but have you been successful? Where are you at? You talk like you know everything. Have you made money in this space? How much money? Like, what are you doing? I think that's important, at least for me. I agree, Dave. The Notion site is very convoluted. I went through it all multiple times trying to understand the OUP, and it's tough. It's tough for someone to truly understand all of the mechanics there. Now, hold on just a second. They didn't even start with development on OMI NFT. Oh, they didn't start with it. Okay, maybe they didn't start with it, but that is actually one of the things that's coming next. If you look, hold on, I'm gonna pull up here that Notion site, because one of the things, we go, this portal. One of the things that is highlighted and is closer of those red rings to being closed is actually OMI to NFT. Let's see, I'm going to go through this OUP quick reference. Sorry, the internet here, guys, is not good. I thought it was this OUP reference here. Oh, development roadmap. That's where we're at. So let me share my screen here. Let's see. All right. So here we go. Here's the development roadmap. And you've got, wait a sec, crypto to gem. Guys, I swear this changed. No? Oh. All right, Dave, I was thinking, no, I swear it was OMI the NFT. Well, I do think that OMI the NFT, yeah, maybe I've gotten my wires crossed there. We got crypto gem coming by OMI on the web app is good. Waitlist drop system. I swear, guys, I swear that there was a OMI to NFT was like one of the big things. So yeah, we'll take that. Take that criticism, Dave. Sorry about that. I thought that was there. Okay, yeah, okay. Dave's agreeing with me, right? Like it did change. I swear it was there. I will have to go back on my tweets because I was talking to someone and they were like, "Oh, well, do you think OMI to NFT is going to be there?" And I'm like, "Well, let me check on this." And the OMI to NFT like was much more red, and it was in a different position too. That I'm kind of taken aback. So it was different. They updated at the end of February. I thought I looked at it after February, but maybe not. So, when first appearance, Dave? Yeah, right, Dave. I've talked about Dave coming on the show. I'd love to have him on. So, let me see if there's any more notes here from NFT NYC real quick, and then I can leave it up to any other questions. Let's see. So, yeah, there was a lot of talk about like regulations and regulatory risk, consumer protection risk. The last thing that I thought was really interesting, they talked about, so there's this one called NFTs, IP valuation and financing. And it basically talked about how to value the IP of these new NFT projects, or not just new NFT projects, but NFT projects in general. They talk about like the trademarks and the IP. And so like if Bored Ape were to try to sell, how much would that IP be worth, and what kind of income is it generating and things. And so when I look at VeVe, the marketplace, the contracts, the contacts, the IP, like all that they have there, I think it's got a pretty significant valuation, which is again meaningful if a company is able to raise money, which I know that VeVe did that not too long ago with Blackbird and some others. That means that there are people out there who definitely value the company, and they're saying, we want to invest in this, we want a piece of this. And that is another, if for whatever reason funds were drying up, I guess, like with not making sales in the marketplace, like that's another place they could go to continue to get funds. But so I want to open it up real quick to see if there are any questions here. Let's see. Michael Rose says, oh, hold on. Dave says he's down. Dave, I'm going to have you on, man. Like, I think that'd be fun just to have a chat and we could talk about all things VeVe, man. So hit me up in the DMs and we might even do it like while I'm here in NFT NYC while I don't have my family. That makes it a little bit easier for me. I think only the NFT was talked about as being moved up the priority list, but not changed on the graphic. Well, I hope that's the case. Yeah, I think that will be a big thing into removing OMI from circulating supply and really starting that burn. Let's see. Yes, Dave, you did miss me talking about chatting with Robbie. You'll have to go back and look. He is delightful. Like, and it was really cool because like he like saw my name tag or whatever and was like, "Hey Doc, how's it going?" and like shook my hand, just really he's one of the bigger deals at the entire conference, and he just acted like he was just a normal guy, with the exception of like a lot of people surrounding him and watching every move that you were making. Q2 objectives: beginning development on OMI to NFT capabilities, allowing users to just transact with OMI tokens in the VeVe market. Yeah, and I think one of the things that they're gonna that I really hope happens soon too is that being able to purchase OMI through the app. Not the mobile app. I don't think Apple's going to allow that, but through the web app, being able to be like, you know what, I want to buy OMI with a credit card. I would love that, because right now I've got to buy freaking ETH on. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but one of them is to buy ETH on Coinbase, send it to my MetaMask, then use the MetaMask swap, right? To buy OMI that way. It's going to cost you more in ETH fees, depending, or it's like buy Bitcoin, send it to Bit4x to USDC trading pair to OMI. I mean, that is annoying, right? If I could just use a credit card, I feel like there would be a lot more people who would be willing to just purchase the OMI. And then especially if there's that use case there. So I'm actually really bullish on when that happens, that being able to use your credit card to purchase OMI on the web app will be massive. Sounds like it's still in the early stages. Okay. Well, with that, like, those are my notes from the first day of NFT NYC. The food out here is amazing. The pizza is amazing. I'm telling you, if you guys ever come out to New York, Real Kung Fu little steamed buns is epic. It is so good. In fact, I'll probably go there tomorrow again. I do want to visit Dave's spot that he told me about. I'd never heard of that. Woo ho. So yeah, looks like there are no more questions there. I appreciate everyone for watching. And I will give you guys an update tomorrow. So take it easy, everyone. Peace out.